Warner Weirdness, sand in Suno's gears, and try not to sleep on cybersecurity. Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear, powered by tunnel vision and unwavering belief, and brought to you by No Desk, helping music, technology, and finance companies navigate the music industry, and partnered with Digital Music News. I'm Lars Murray. It's August 4th, 2026. It's Tech Tuesday, but before we geek out, the Warner Music earnings thing is getting complicated and frankly a bit weird. First last week, CEO/CFO Armin Zerza left the building, replaced by Warner Records' Tom Corson as COO and his deputy Lou Dicker as CFO, at least for now. Then yesterday, 3 days ahead of their scheduled Thursday earnings call, they released what they called preliminary results for their calendar Q2, which is actually their fiscal Q3. The results looked pretty reasonable given the current market, no spectacular spikes like Sony's other line, but basically a 10 to 15% growth peanut butter swipe across most of its key revenue lines. Nothing particularly alarming about that, but Wall Street wasn't impressed, and as of this recording, WMG stock has dipped 3%. It ain't great, but it sure ain't Universal's 20+% tank in the last few days. What does it all mean? Well, it depends on who you ask. Over in Billboard, the headline of Elizabeth Dilts Marshall's piece highlights double-digit streaming growth, which perhaps is worded to sound a little more fabulous than it is. Over at Hits Daily Double, they went with the 10% overall growth number in their headline, but also missed the stock drop, just like I did on Friday with UMG. It happens, people. Haven't seen their needle scratch correction yet. Over at Music Business Worldwide, Murray Stassen speculated that the early numbers release was intended to quell rumors that Zerza left because of a bad quarter. Over at Digital Music News, Dylan Smith highlighted the fact that the numbers WMG released are subject to change, and he helpfully pointed out that the 3% stock dip comes on top of a 16% year-to-date dip overall for Warner. 4 sources, 4 different takes. It pays to diversify your news diet, and that's just what we're here to do for you. Meanwhile, we'll all be waiting for whatever that Thursday earnings call brings. Okay, let's geek out. The big AI story of the week is that the German society GEMA scored a strategic victory in German courts over Gen AI leader Suno. Score 1 for GEMA's thundering hordes of litigators who argued successfully that training Suno's model on copyrighted material was a copyright violation. This one goes a little further than the US data training decisions of late, which have focused on how the training data was acquired rather than how it was used. This one's about actual use and flies in the face of the widespread big AI fair use argument, and it's bound to put some sand in the gears of Suno's licensing machine. Sony and UMG lawyers will undoubtedly point to the decision as they seek victory or settlement in their lawsuits against Suno, and the other question is whether this complicates the deal Suno already did with Warner Music Group. Maybe that's part of that 3% stock dip, though probably not. Stay tuned, there's going to be more here. And AI Slop was a feature of both Warner Music and Universal Music earnings discussion this week, which is a pretty good signal that the overwhelming flood of slop swamping DSPs has become a real issue even for the majors, who have insisted till now that their human product was relatively impervious to slop. But it's not necessarily about quality, it's about quantity. Over at 404 Media, Emanuel Maiburg is calling out Spotify in particular for not doing enough to label and identify AI slop. His article highlights 2 services that are doing the job for Spotify. Soulless Music and Sloptracker are the 2 services doing the heavy lifting that Maiburg thinks Spotify should be doing itself. He points out that YouTube does this pretty aggressively. To be fair to Spotify, they have started to tag AI contact, but you have to dig pretty deep to find that info, as I did last week with La Dolce Riviera. Good on Soulless Music and Sloptracker for holding their feet to the fire, though it seems like you have to be pretty committed to use them. I mean, one's a database that lists slop, and the other's a tool that evaluates a track for its slop potential. Both of these require active user prompting, which is unlikely to happen at scale. Nonetheless, their existence should push Spotify in the right direction, but if they really want to solve the problem, Sloptracker, Soulless Music, and Emanuel Maiburg might want to turn their attention to the distributors flooding the zone as well. If they tag their own products, maybe Spotify and Deezer and Qobuz and Amazon's game of Whack-a-Slop might be easier. Okay, AI isn't all fear and loathing. Over at his LinkedIn page, friend of the pod Michael Nevins wrote a detailed and thoughtful post about how he used Claude to streamline his pro audio hustle, using it to outline processes and create documents that make his customer service process much more efficient. For some of us, it's become routine and probably will be for you too eventually. But if it hasn't yet, Michael's article lays out in a very relatable human way how AI is especially good at those tasks that sit at the three-way junction of requiring professional expertise, rote, and specific. The article's called What Lego and Hardware Stores Taught Me About AI, and there's a link in the show notes. As for my own experience, to update you on my MIT AI transformation class, this week we focused on cybersecurity. Like the Middle East, or working out in a gym as opposed to playing a sport, it's a combination of essential, unceasing, and utterly tedious. It may finally be time to add cybersecurity to that eternal duet of death and taxes. Because when it comes to cybersecurity, AI is potentially, like alcohol, as the great Homer Simpson once said, both the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. In cybersecurity, there are protocols to learn, there are multivariate threats, and vulnerabilities to be monitored. It does not have a human face, but unfortunately, we all need to be looking at it. What I learned this week is that it's important to try not to sleep on cybersecurity, even if it threatens to put you to sleep. And that's another Tech Tuesday. Support for Unlimited Supply is provided by you, our listeners. Sign up for a full year of support and get the limited edition Unlimited Supply Merit Badge Trucker Hat, which we manufactured in limited quantities by popular demand. It's at unlimitedsupplypod.com. If you like what you hear, please hit that follow button wherever you get your pods, including now Substack, and drop us a rating and or a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify, and tell a friend or three. Links are in the show notes, but you can visit unlimitedsupplypod.com to sign up for our newsletter, to tell us what you think about the show, to suggest feature ideas, to feed us info, to feed us lunch, to call us out on our dubious assertions, and to tell us what we're missing out on. I'm Lars Murray, and remember, in this business, no conflict means no interest.